Linnea has been revealed. Let's talk about her. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. So we have had our next character revealed, Linnea, and I find this character rather interesting for one specific reason. Hoyoverse has confirmed that she is a Moonwheel character, and her Moonwheel is Geo. A Geo Moonwheel character. Now, I am pretty sure that if you've been keeping up with the Genshin meta these past few months, you might have one very specific character come to mind. A character that is currently really strong and, in my opinion, is currently in no need of a buff. And that certain someone would be Jabai. I would find it very strange if Linnea ends up being a Moonwheel Geo support for her specifically. Now, you could argue it would make sense. Every lunar DPS up until this point has had a premium teammate release for them, though usually the order is that the premium teammate comes out first and then the DPS afterwards. It's just that with the Horse Lady, they simply decided to do it the other way around. And while this is true, I thought that Jabai's premium support was Iluga, so they are essentially making her a second one. Because otherwise, I have no idea why they would make a character like this. It's probably not going to be a DPS when we literally already got a Lunar Crystallized DPS literally last patch. It's just not happening. That was way too recent for them to make another one, and it's a Moonwheel character, so we know they're going to deal in lunar mechanics. And because I feel like the lunar meta has been pretty predictable up until this point, you kinda know to put the triangle through the triangle-shaped hole, it's pretty clear to me that this character is probably going to end up being a Jabai support. I don't really know what else she would end up doing, or why else Hoyoverse would make a Moonwheel Geo character this soon. I'm more so just surprised as to why they're making a character like this, because I felt like Iluga was more than sufficient for the Horse Lady already, because she is plenty strong. Now, we're going to have to wait and see how much she actually buffs her if she ends up buffing her, because if it turns out that she does something completely different, which I highly doubt, then okay, but if she does end up being a Geo buffer for Lunar Crystallized teams, then we need to see how much does she actually contribute to Jabai teams. And if she contributes to them by quite a wide margin, then that's going to be very interesting. Jabai is definitely going to become the best DPS in the game by an absolute long shot, by the way, if that does end up being the case. And even if she only buffs her up a little bit, she is still going to end up being the best DPS in the game, because as it currently stands, highly invested lunar teams are very competitive right now. I do still think that Jabai is currently the strongest lunar DPS if you have all of her respective gear, and she's also the strongest free-to-play lunar DPS. Everything just feels very well directed in Jabai's favor at the moment. And okay, maybe a lot of people did pull her, perhaps she's a very popular character, but goodness me, making another support for her just feels a little bit overkill. So, we'll have to see. I think it's very obvious what this character is going to end up doing, but even so, it's still just, what the heck? They're definitely throwing balance out of the window with this one. It also feels like they're giving more food to somebody who's already fed. Like, okay, we're going to give food to Jabai when Varka is in the state he's currently in. Granted, we're probably going to get a Varka buffer down the line if we ever get one. I am pretty confident we're going to get one at some point because it seems like Hoyoverse wants there to be a premium team for everyone. And of course, I understand I myself have to have a little bit of patience. They're not immediately going to make a Varka buffer like 1 second after he came out. But even so, you have to understand why this is pretty funny in my opinion, because we are basically going to be getting what seems to be a Jabai support 1 second after she came out. Now, like I said, she could come out and do something entirely different, have nothing to do with Jabai, be a totally different thing, but you've got to understand how unrealistic that is when we literally just got a Lunar Crystallized DPS. So, there's that. It would just feel really strange for them to make another Geo DPS when we recently got one, and we just don't really happen to get Geo DPSs that often. They are very few and far in between. So, I feel like her actual meta role is pretty straightforward, because otherwise, why would Hoyoverse make a character like this? Something more interesting to think about is she going to potentially help other Geo characters? That's something that we're going to have to wait and see. Consider that while Inefa was primarily made for Flynn's in particular, you can pair her with Columbina and then just use that character elsewhere. She's just a really good character in general. And Lauma, she is mostly made for Nafer, but she's also just a really good Bloom teammate in general. And in hindsight, I wouldn't necessarily say that Durin was made for Varka in particular, as much as he was just made for Hexerai in general, as I personally feel like we're still waiting on getting a proper fully fledged Varka buffer or Hexerai buffer. He's still another nice example of a unit that is also really flexible in general and can be used with many different characters, outside of just the character that he was supposedly made for. I do obviously think he was made with Varka in mind, but all around, he's another very flexible unit. So, with that being said, I do think that maybe there is potential for this character to also be good beyond Jibai teams, simply because all of the other lunar supports have shown this quality. And Columbina herself, she is very restricted to 6.x teams, but you can very much play her with the likes of Inefa and put her in other teams. So I'm very curious to see what this character's contribution is going to be outside of her really obvious areas, because I do think it is super easy to put 2 and 2 together and figure out why Hoiverse is making a character like this. I don't know why else they would make a character like this. Granted, they could end up surprising us, I just doubt it. I feel like the meta has been really rigid as of late and very predictable, and I feel like it's been this way at the very least since Skirk. So because of that, it's at least easy to plan whether you should get this character or not. I think this unit is probably going to be get her if you have Jibai, don't otherwise. We'll just have to wait and see. If this character does end up being a Jibai buff, I'll just say, oh my goodness, I wonder why they thought that was a good idea. That character is already good, as she is, like really good, super strong, like a top tier DPS at the minute. Why are we going to give another support? But hey, whatever. Hoiverse is just gonna do whatever they feel like doing at this point. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see, because like I said, nothing is official. I could very much be proven wrong, and we could see this character be something different entirely. But you've got to understand why I'm not expecting that when I feel like Nordcry has been following a very specific structure with basically all of their lunar DPSs. And I'll say this much, it also feels a bit strange because Jibai felt like a very complete unit on release. With somebody like Varka, that character doesn't feel complete right now for anybody that doesn't have a signature weapon. He just feels underwhelming. And if you do have his sig, then he feels pretty decent all things considered, not actually that bad. But even so, definitely not as strong as the other lunar DPSs whenever you have their full premium teams. That's a character that could definitely use a buffer, and I am pretty sure that basically everybody that loves Varka and pulled for him out of dedication is probably seated waiting for said buffer to come out. So that's a character that's in need of one, because I feel like that's a character that came out before his buffer came out. Kind of as if Skirk came out before Escoffier came out, that sort of deal. But Jibai already feels complete as is, so if we end up getting another character for her, I just find that a little odd. And yes, I will just admit, if this character does end up being really good for the Horse Lady and is a big buff for her, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be a little bit salty about that because I'm a big Varka fan, and holy crap, that character needs a lot more help than Jibai does right now. I just find this to be a really redundant buff if that ends up being the case. But, I don't know, we're just gonna have to see. I should reiterate, literally nothing is official right now. This is all just me thinking about what could possibly happen, considering that it's a Moonwheel Geo character, and because most of Nordcry's meta has been put 2 and 2 together, I feel like we can also put 2 and 2 together in this instance. But just keep in mind, literally nothing I've said is actually official. Now, in terms of the character herself and her design, I think she looks pretty nice. I don't really have a super strong opinion on her and her design. This is a pretty random character. She hasn't appeared, like, at all previously in the story. I mean, I don't know if she does in the event. I haven't done the event yet. But at least from what I've played, I have not seen this character, like, once. So she's a new introduction to the game. I think she looks nice. It's interesting that she's another Fae character. I think her hair's nice. I like the little wings on her head. I think she's a nice little backpack. All around, it's a pretty decent design. I'm not crazy for it. I don't look at this and go, wow, this is like the best thing ever. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad design either. It's unique, it's got some nice things going on, and all around, I'm a fan. I'm not going to be pulling for this character simply because I just don't really think I would have a particular use for her. I basically haven't engaged with the lunar meta at all. The only lunar character I've pulled is Flynn's, and Flynn's alone, because I personally don't really like NF's design. So I just got Flynn's, and that's pretty much it. And I'm pretty happy to just have my Flynn's, and I didn't really want to invest into any of our lunar characters. Columbina was a maybe, but I kind of lost interest. And also, I was saving for Varka. So I'm probably not going to have any use for this character since she's a Moonwheel unit, so probably just going to skip her, and I'm just gonna wait for a Varka buff from here on out. I'm probably gonna wait for that until the end of 6.x, and if we don't get it by then, I'm just gonna assume it's not coming and put the fries in the bag. If we don't get it by then, I just don't think it's gonna be a priority for Hoyoverse at, like, any point in time. Though I do still believe, for now, until the end of 6.x, I believe that at some point, Varka will probably get something to help him out. And if this character ends up being what I think she's gonna end up being, very unnecessary, but okay. And if this character ends up being something entirely different, I'm very curious what she's going to be, because I'm not really sure what else they would do with a Moonwheel Geo character, if not make her good for the existing Lunar Crystallized DPS, but maybe they can do something unique, maybe they can do something different. Hoyoverse has been pretty innovative with their Geo characters recently, which I like to see, so who knows. I shouldn't judge too harshly until we actually see some official information. Hopefully this video was able to tell you what I currently think about Linnea. This has been Juice, signing out, and I am still gonna stay strong for that Varka buffer.